Good evening, everyone. I'm Ari Sloan White, one of the assistant librarians, and I like to welcome everyone for tonight's program, Food Prep 101 with Chef Kelsey. We've had her previous here on Zoom back in the winter when she did the steak dinner for two, which was an excellent
Oh my God, that was
program and so many good
so
stuff.
good.
Good. So we'd like to welcome her back for tonight's program. A few things before we get started. I provided in the chat the Food Prep 101 recipes that Chef Kelsey has provided for all of us. So feel free to take a look at those and save that on your computer for reference to prep any fun recipes you like to try that she's provided for us. Feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along. I'll keep an eye on that, and you can ask Chef Kelsey anything as she goes along through each step of the process. And please feel free to keep your mics mute as we go along to prevent noise and stuff like that. And this video will be recorded and will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So that will be sometime this week. I'll get that uploaded and added to the Danvers Library channel. All right, Kelsey, all you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. So I am Chef Kelsey. I am a Lowell-based chef and food educator, but I also have the privilege of calling Brightlock Farm in Winchester, Mass. my work home. So I run a nonprofit kitchen on a nonprofit farm. So I guess obviously, where we do all kinds of farm to table things, from cooking classes to tea times to farm suppers and kind of everything in between. So I very obviously love food. I'm excited to be here with all of you guys today, talking about something that even I actually struggle with, which is food prep. And it's the idea of taking time to prep your food ahead of time so that when it comes time to cook or to eat, it's easy to have delicious, nutritious food at home. We're not wasting the food that we're spending the time at the grocery store getting. And so that's what we're kind of going to talk about today. And I'll be like totally transparent. I feel incredibly lucky because my mom growing up always made a menu every single week on Sunday. We made a menu for the week and everyone got to pick one thing. She picked two stuff. We have like a little jar. If nobody knew what they wanted, we'd have a jar of all of our favorite dinner items. You just put your hand in and pull something out, and that would be what you would have for dinner. And so that was something that I really grew up with, in the idea of making a grocery list and going to the grocery store and all of these things. And I know that not everyone was fortunate enough to kind of be raised with that. And I know not all of us have time to really spend thinking about those things. I know for me, it's hilarious. Like, I cook constantly and I'm always at the grocery store, but sometimes it's not for myself. And I have to kind of remind myself to slow down and the importance of prepping food for myself too. So this class is actually really great for me today. I have a really busy rest of the week. And so I'm going to kind of walk you guys through some of the food prep that I would do for myself. It's really versatile. And I think it's something that you guys can kind of take these ideas and these thoughts and figure out ways that you would kind of do it for your home and in your family. I invite you guys, if you have questions about food prep or any of those types of stuff, lunch ideas, whatever it is that you kind of need help with in this realm, put it in the chat. I'm happy to talk about it. Um, and so I broke it down in like 3 sections. So we're going to start talking about like breakfast slash snack. Then it's going to be kind of like breakfast slash dessert. And then it's going to be like a lunch slash dinner situation. So we're going to kind of talk about those 3 aspects of food prep. And the first thing I'm going to show you is, this is my notebook, and I try to use this every single week to kind of plan out my menu and what I'm going to be making. And then we have our weekly planner here for me and my partner, and I'll use that to kind of put all the stuff on here. So on here, I have what's for dinner. If we're doing like special breakfast, I'll put that. And then I have like a lunch slash breakfast section. So we can look at the board and know, here's what's for lunch, here's what's for breakfast. We have all of our snack sections. So if I prep snack stuff, or if we buy things and they have expiration dates, stuff like that, kind of creating a way for you to remember what you have is a great way to help you reduce that waste. And then we always have our leftovers on the board with the date that we made it. That way we kind of are like, when did we have tacos? How long is this good for? So those things are all really important. And then I'll show you guys my book. I actually like did one for today so that we could see it. But what I always do, and I'll put it up here, my horrible handwriting. but I break it down by every single day. And then I'll break down like what I want to have for lunch, for breakfast, for snack. And then I'll be like, okay, well, if I want to do these things, what do I have to do for my prep? And that way I kind of know ahead of time. It's not like this worrisome thing where I'm just thinking there's all these a million and one things I have to do and it feels overwhelming. The reality is when you're cooking for yourself and you're taking the time to do food prep, it takes time. Like that's something that's no matter what, it's going to take time. You have to go to the grocery store. You have to chop the stuff. You have to wash. You have to do the work. But if you set yourself up for success, it's really easy. One of my number one tips is never do your food prep and major cooking on the same day you do your shopping. Like go a day ahead to do your shopping, because sometimes going to the store, and when I do it, I like try to source from different places for different things, and I love going to farm stands, obviously. So it's a lot of like driving and going and gathering and collecting these things for me. And it can be hard to like do that and then come home and put everything away and watch it and then be like, all right, let's cook, you know? So kind of planning out your shopping as well as when you're going to do your food prep is really helpful. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start by prepping breakfast. So we're going to do some hard-boiled eggs. I always have hard-boiled eggs in my fridge. Um, it's a really easy snack. It's a good, quick breakfast. If you just need some protein or something like that, it's great. And it's also really cheap and they last in the fridge for a week. So you can boil, like pick one day and I'll boil eggs on, normally I do it Sunday. And then I'm like, okay, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If I have any left Saturday, which I never do, that's cool. So what I have is, this is one of my all-time favorite things. It's an egg timer. And if you look at it, it's got these different colors. And what happens is it turns white as it cooks and it will tell you where your egg is at. So this is like the foolproof method to get the type of egg that you want. You can also do, I put it in the recipe packet, there's like a timing way of doing it too. So I'm going to do 6 eggs. And while I'm doing these eggs, I'm going to prep my other breakfast stuff. So that's kind of another thought about it is when you're doing one thing that's like around something, do all the things associated with that. So if you're doing some of the eggs, do all the stuff that has the eggs, get it out of the way, and then you're done. So our eggs are going to go on the stove. I'm going to bring them up to a boil. They've got their little egg timer in there. And then we're going to make an ice bath for when they're done. So to do that, I want to stop the cooking essentially. So I do an ice bath when I hard boil eggs for 2 reasons. 1, stop the cooking. 2, the shock of the ice bath kind of causes it to go, and then it like shrinks up and it pulls away, like that membrane pulls away from the shell. So it makes it easier to peel. So I've got my ice balls here. It's hilarious, my filtered water drinking ice balls, because I don't feel like getting the ice cube tray out. And I like these balls because they hold the temperature really well, especially when I put the hot eggs in. So we're gonna use this. And later I'll ask my partner to fill them all up with nice water so we can have them for cocktails. All right. So that's ready. That's my ice bath. I'll just put this to the side. The other thing that I like to do when I'm doing food prep is as little dishes as possible. So I think that's something that can be overwhelming too. If you're like cooking all day and doing all this prep and you're like, wow, now I have a mountain of dishes to do. And it's kind of training your brain to think about ways to use things multiple ways. So here's my pan that I'm going to use to cook my eggs. And I've actually used this 3 times already. So what I did is I cooked up some tofu for our fresh rolls earlier. So I used this pan to cook my tofu, wiped it out, and then I put my sausage in it and I cooked my sausage in it. I'm leaving, this was a chicken sausage, so there's not like a lot of oil. So I'm just gonna leave what's in here to cook my eggs. But if it was something like bacon or something like that, take most of that out. You don't really want it super greasy. But then you can just reuse that pan again. So I'm using this pan 3 times, like really easily, you know, obviously cross-contamination, like you don't want to do something where it's like, I'm cooking chicken and then I'm going to cook this thing like fruit, like that doesn't work. But cooking something, a little bit of oil, it was tofu, wiped it out, cleaned it, put my sausage in there. Great. I always make sure my sink is empty when I start food prep, and my dishwasher, because that way I'm just loading it up and then it's running and I'm done. Cleanup is simple. So we're going to make some breakfast sandwiches. I've got my eggs here and I'm going to crack an egg. So most people, or I would do like show of hands, but we're virtual. But a lot of people think you want to crack an egg on like the side of the bowl or the edge of the table. But what you really want to do is you want to hit it on something flat. That gives you an easier, cleaner break. You're also less likely to get the little shells in there. And one of my favorite tricks is that if you hit 2 eggs together, only one will break. So hit 2 eggs together, this one breaks. And I go here. My partner coined this gladiator eggs because he's like, see, this one has defeated 2 eggs now. It's seeing who is the strongest egg. See if he goes through. Nope, he was defeated. It happens. And then my last egg. All right. This bowl right here, you can't see it if you're, we'll go behind. This is my thank you for coming bowl. It's my compost bowl if you compost. If you don't compost, it's your trash bowl. But the idea of it is essentially creating a space where all of your trash, your compost, your mess goes to hang out while you're working. That way you're not going back and forth to trash can. You have a nice clean work surface, and a clean surface is a happy surface. So again, just these little things that we can do to kind of make food prep less scary and a little bit easier. I'm just gonna wash my hands. All right. So I'm going to turn my pan on back here for my eggs. And I'm just going to do over easy. You could do over medium. You could break the yolks if that's how you like your sandwiches. But this is going to go back here and they're going to cook. I'm just going to wait for this to heat up for 1 minute. And while I do that, I'm going to prep the rest of my stuff for my breakfast sandwiches. So I have, these are the Stone Skillet herb English muffins. I'm using a chicken sausage, and I'm also putting spinach on it and cheddar cheese. So when I was thinking about those flavors, I was like, ooh, this one will be really good. But if you like whole wheat, do whole wheat. If you like plain, do plain. If some people like sausage and cinnamon raisin, you could do that. You could do this with bagels. You know, you could do it just with sandwich bread, whatever you kind of have that you want to use, you can kind of take this idea and do that. So to prep my station, and what I'm going to do, and this really is the easiest thing. My sausage is already cooked. I just have to cook my eggs, and that is it. There's no other cooking. So I've got some foil here. You guys got me on the day where I had to buy new foil and parchment paper. And I'm making 4 sandwiches. So I'm just going to take 4 pieces of foil, if I can open it. There we go. All right. Two. So the foils for storage, it's also for reheating, unless you are using a microwave. If you're using a microwave, do not put foil in the microwave. I repeat, do not put foil in the microwave. It is a bad idea. I don't have a microwave, so my reheating is done in the oven, so the foil is perfect. We also use the foil because it helps if we want to freeze this. It helps it without like the freezer burn and stuff like that. So it's just keeping it wrapped. All right, and then we're going to do 4 pieces of parchment paper. 2, 3. The parchment paper is great because I'm going to like put this on the table. You guys see me? There we go. The parchment paper is really good because we use it to wrap it in the first layer. So if you're going to do it in the microwave, take the foil off, leave it in the parchment paper. You microwave it until it's like nice and hot, and then you can just unwrap it and hold it from the parchment paper. And then if you're doing the oven method, what's great about it is it helps keep that moisture in there. So I'm going to prep my station. So all I do is, I'm going to move that, move my eggs too. Are we hot over here? Almost. All right, so I just put my 4 pieces of foil down. And then I'll have my 4 pieces of parchment paper. Ooh, rolling on me. This is another thing that I'll do with like breakfast burritos. I'll do this kind of like same method. All right, and then I'm just gonna cut my English muffins and put them open face on here. I'm not even gonna cook them because they're gonna get warmed up when I heat up my sandwich for breakfast. So we're just gonna open. Makes it really easy. if you're doing something that I like to do is I actually do a lot of my food prep on Sundays. So I'll wake up on Sunday and I'll make breakfast. And whatever I'm making for breakfast, if I'm making something that has bacon in it, I will make extra bacon. And then that way I'm like, okay, well, now I have all of this. I can use this for whatever my breakfast prep is, or just keeping it. Maybe we'll do BLTs that week. All right. So there they are, open, easy peasy. I think my pan is warm, so I'm going to add my eggs. There we go. 2, 3, and 4. Okay. I'm going to season it. So I'm just going to do a little salt and a little pepper. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to finish these. So I've got some spinach here. So I'm going to add a little pile of spinach to the bottom. You could do other veggies if you want. You could do no veggies. It's really up to you. I've got this spinach and it needs to be used. And I thought, that's perfect. I'll use it this way. And it's great too, because you can freeze these. So if you have stuff that's going away and like, you need to use it, it's a good thing to kind of put it in there and then you can just freeze it. All right, so I've got some of that spinach is a little ugly. Got my spinach. Got the fridge. And then I'm gonna add a slice of cheese. You can do any type of cheese you want. I'm doing cheddar. So I'm just gonna put a slice of cheese here. My eggs are already almost done. So I'm gonna check on them. They look great. They're gonna get flipped. All right, turn that heat off because I flipped my eggs. So they're good. So you guys can see I just took my eggs, I flipped them. You can cook it more if you want. All right, I'm gonna add my egg. I'm not even gonna worry about flipping it over, making it fancy, right? I'm just gonna put the cheese, and then that's perfect because the cheese is gonna be on top of the runny yolk when I cook it. So I've got my cheese on there. Done with that pan. And then I've got my chicken sausage. So depending on kind of what you have, you can cut it. These are like tiny little itty bitty links that are so cute. So I'm just going to put 3 links on it and call it a day. Whoopsies. Maybe I should put them on and then wrap it. All right. So I'm going to put it on, wrap. My yolk broke a little. Doesn't matter. It'll all get cooked up. So I'm wrapping my breakfast sandwich in the parchment. And then I'm going to wrap it in the foil. And that's a breakfast sandwich done and ready. Let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. This here. Wrap it up in parchment paper. Wrap it in foil. Boom. 2. This is great too if you have like kids. Back to school has officially started. So having something that's like really easy. What we do is when we wake up in the morning and start getting ready, because we don't have a microwave, I'll just turn the oven on and I'll grab this from the refrigerator and I'll throw them in the fridge while I'm getting ready for the day. And then by the time, 20 minutes later, it's time to eat, we're good. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put sausage on this one. I was too busy chit-chatting. So funny. It's okay. We can just unwrap it. All right, there we go. Sausage. Not the best wrapping. There we go. it's fine. And last but certainly not least, go over. Wrap it. All right, and there we go. So now I have 4 breakfast sandwiches ready. My eggs are boiling. I'm gonna show you guys so you can kind of see. Can you see how it's starting to go clear? And I like a medium boiled egg, and that's actually where I'm at. So I'm gonna stop these eggs from cooking. So I'm gonna finish putting these away, and then we're gonna take our eggs out. So here's my bag. I'm gonna eat these in the next 2 days, so they're gonna go in the fridge, but you can also put these in a bag and put them in the freezer. Of course, my bag's not quite big enough, so I'll have to change bags later. But imagine that this bag is big enough and it goes in and you seal it and it can go right into your freezer, into your fridge, and then it's ready for breakfast. All right, so I'm gonna put these in the fridge and I'll fix the bag later. I always label things with the date as well. That way I just know when I made it. All right, and then I've got my little ice bath, I've got my medium boiled eggs, and we're just gonna go right in here. And then that's it. These eggs are also ready. So again, just putting the date so I remember what day it is. I'm a little worried we're gonna spill some water. Ooh, can we fit the last one? Oh, we can. Water density, there we go. All right. And just so you guys can see my little egg timer. So as you can see, it started to go like a little bit clear. So now it's in the like red medium to kind of hard zone, which is perfect. My partner likes hard boiled. I like medium boiled. It's the happy medium. And that's it. So our breakfast sandwiches are done and our eggs are boiled. So that's all of our breakfast prep ready, at least regarding the eggs. And now what we're gonna do is these are gonna go hang out over here and continue to cool. And we're gonna make a chia seed breakfast pudding. I just spilled that. All right. So this is a pretty nutrient dense one because we're gonna be using, I have almond milk, but if you have like you're allergic to almonds or you prefer oat milk, you could use oat milk, something like that. And then I have some cocoa powder that we're gonna add to it. This is a red velvet beet chia seed pudding. So this is chia seed. It's also flax seed. And what's really cool about this is it kind of like is a super absorber and it sucks up all the liquid that you're putting in there. So we're gonna make something that's gonna taste really delicious. It's gonna look weird. And then we're gonna put it in a jar. And then when we come back to it in the morning, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be like a pudding consistency. You could use it for a really quick breakfast. You could use it for dessert, anything like that, even snack. And then I'm gonna add my sweetener is maple syrup. So I have unsweetened plain almond milk. I like to I don't really like added sugars that are kind of like snuck into things. Like I think sugar is great, but like the sugar I'm adding, and I want to be aware of like what I'm eating. So I always look at my labels, and I always try to get like if I'm getting an almond milk, it's really just simple ingredients. So we're gonna add our own sweetener. We're gonna add maple syrup. You could do honey or something like that if you wanted. And then the other thing that we're adding to this, the sweetener, and the thing that makes it just really yummy is actually cooked beets. So you can take the time to get beets at the store or the market and like go through and cook them and use that for a lot of things. They also just have these love beets. When I'm running behind or there's a lot that I want to do, I think sometimes taking shortcuts are necessary in the kitchen and making it so it's enjoyable. And so these are great for something like this. So I'm just going to open up my little cooked beets. And they're gonna go right into my blender with my cocoa powder and my chia seeds. There's some flax seed in my chia seed mix, which is great because I like flax seed too. Right? And then we're gonna blend it and then that's it, you're done. And this is something that's super versatile. So there's all kinds of different types of recipes you could do. You could do a chia seed pudding that's like an oatmeal cookie chia seed pudding. I think they have like carrot cake chia seed puddings and just all these different flavors. All right. I'm missing an extension cord. So I'm trying to get this to reach and it's not going to happen. So I'm going to put this behind me. We're going to turn it on and then I'll show you guys how it looks. This cord's just a little too short. So we'll turn it on. It's going to blend it up. And that's it. It's done. So now we have this really great chia seed pudding that we can use for dessert, for breakfast. It smells great. It smells chocolatey. Got all those beets in it, which we love. We're gonna move this guy. All right. So I have my chia seed pudding and I'm just gonna put it in these mason jars. It's really liquidy right now. You're gonna be like, there's no way that that is a pudding. But like I said, what happens is overnight, everything's gonna absorb all that moisture. And that's one of the reasons I'm leaving some extra space in here just because it is gonna expand. I'm not gonna eat this much chia seed pudding when I go to eat it. This is just the jar I'm gonna put it in and then I'll scoop it into a bowl. If you guys have like small jars and things like that, you guys could just go ahead and put it in the little jars already portioned and you're good to go. So I'm gonna put tops on. And that's it. The chia seed pudding is done. So I'm gonna put that on my fridge. Perfect. All right. I spilt some maple syrup over here on accident. So I want to just get that cleaned up. A classic move. The universe heard me talking about how I don't like cleaning, so I try to be neat. And it's like, okay, well, let's just spill a quarter cup of maple syrup really quickly. All right. There we go. All right, so we have our breakfast stuff prepped. We have a breakfast dessert thing prepped. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about kind of like lunch, dinner, and ways that we can kind of do that. So. I'm excited for the chia pudding. It smells quite delicious. All righty. So we're gonna set ourselves up for success. Always. All right, so we're gonna be making Vietnamese spring rolls, which are a really, really great snack item. I like just see a mess right there. Look at it. What I like particularly about these is that they're super versatile and it's something where I prep all the stuff and I put it in individual containers and then you grab what you need as you're doing it. It's also great if you have kids. The kids can kind of pick what they want to put in there. And I think that having the authority to kind of choose what your food is really huge for kids. So it's kind of like this fun activity for them. So for our spring rolls, we're going to make a dipping sauce that I will get to after we prep all of our other stuff. But our toppings are, we have some tofu. So I cooked this crispy tofu earlier. It's great. I can put it in my rolls, but I could also use it in other stuff for this week. So I've got my tofu. We're going to prep some cabbage, peppers, cucumbers, and carrots. And then earlier this week, I had tacos. And so when I had tacos, I prepped all my cilantro. So I have my washed and chopped cilantro here in this container ready to go for me. So that's kind of something else to think about when we're prepping food. How can we take stuff that we're doing earlier and use it later? Right? So my cilantro was great. I also cut up I had some lettuce that needed to be used. So I cut that up and I'm like, that would be pretty good in a roll. Like I'll put that in there. Why not? I have it. All right. And then I've got my avocado. So I had this avocado with breakfast. I saved it for my fresh roll. When you're saving avocado, what happens is when air touches I almost said orange, the green flesh, it causes oxidization. And that's what makes it start to turn brown. So I wrap mine in plastic wrap and you want to just like put it as close to that flesh as possible. So I'm going to cut that last. All right, so we're going to prep peppers, cabbage, cucumber, and carrots. So that's 4 things. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to know that I need 4 containers for my different things. But I also know that if I'm already taking the time to cut these peppers, carrots, and cucumbers, I want to have those things for stack too. I want to be able to dip some hummus or other things in those. So since I'm already working on them, I'm going to cut them 2 ways. All right. Again, it's that idea of like doing more with less, I guess, is kind of like a way to put it, but doing more while you're doing other things. So then you end up doing less, if that makes sense. The only thing I'm missing is something for my cabbage. I'm going to put my cabbage in here, which is perfect. I have lots of little containers. All right, so now I'm just gonna prep everything. So I'm gonna start with my cabbage because I'm only doing one thing with it. So this is a cute little purple cabbage. I went to one of my favorite farms this morning and I wasn't even gonna get cabbage. I was just gonna use lettuce. And then I saw it and I was like, it is just so cute. So we're gonna use it. It called to me. So I cut it in half. I'm gonna cut out that big right here, center. And then I kind of just like create these little chunks for me. And then from there, I just slice it really thin. So let's talk about knife skills. I just jumped right into it, guys. We're going to talk about knife skills. I'll go back. All right. So I'm just giving it a fine chop. This is perfect because I'll have cabbage for my rolls. I could cook some cabbage with something later. Make Vietnamese like vermicelli bowls. I actually think I'm going to make fried rice tomorrow. Get my vermicelli noodles out too that I prepped. I love vermicelli noodles in fresh rolls and I love having them cooked anyways. Like you could just do a bowl with something like this for lunch, or it can go in your spring rolls. Or if you have picky kids, they love the idea of putting pasta in a spring roll. All right, so I'm gonna chop the rest of this up. And then the thing about cabbage is it kind of lasts a long time. So I'm not going to cut all of it. I'm just going to cut that much because this gives me a little bowl, and a little really does go a long way. There's just 2 of us. If you have a bigger family or more people that you're feeding, obviously cut more. But for me and for us, we're just going to cut half of it, and I'm going to save this for something else that we're going to do maybe next week. All right. And then we're going to do carrots, cucumbers, and peppers. So I'm going to start with the peppers and I'm going to talk about knife skills because I just totally breezed right by that because I was just so ready to keep prepping my food. So this is my chef's knife, and the way you're going to hold it is you're going to take your thumb and your pointer finger and you're going to pinch the blade right here, and then you're going to wrap your hand around it. Any really good knife actually has a really, really comfortable area right here for your fingers to kind of hang out. And it might be a little bit scary. You're like, I'm kind of like choked up on the blade. But instead of like fearing it, think about it as the knife kind of being an extension of your arm. So when I'm holding my knife like this, I can feel here the weight of it, right? I feel it pulling versus when I hold it here, I don't feel anything up here. It's completely balanced in my hand. So it really is an extension. The other thing is I'm never going straight up and down with my knife. When you do that, you only use one part of your knife. That part becomes dull while the rest remains sharp. Instead, again, the idea of an extension, it's a rocking motion. So when I'm using my knife, I'm starting down and rocking forward. And always bare claw those fingers. So for my peppers, these are white bell peppers. I got them at the farm this morning. I love bell peppers. I think it's so cool that they come in so many varieties. If you're lucky enough to have like a farm stand near you and you can go check it out, it is bell pepper season. My favorite are the purple ones. So I just go around, as you guys can see, and just cut these little pieces. So what I'm going to do is for the spring rolls, I want everything to be about the same, like width and thickness and stuff. So I'm just going to cut them in strips. And then they're going to go right in here. So I've got some strips of bell pepper. And then I also want some bell pepper for snacking. And for that, I want it a little bit thicker. So I'm thinking about that as I'm working. So I want to use the rest of this bell pepper for snacking. So I'm just going to do big chunks like this because I'm like, oh, I can like scoop that and I can dip it with something. Or if I decide that I want to use it for something else, it's easy to kind of chop it whatever way I need it. So all my little snacking veggies are going to go in the same little container right here, I think. There we go. We'll do this guy and go right here. So now I have my bell pepper all ready for rolls, whatever else I want to use it for. I also have it ready for snacking. The next thing I'm going to do is some cucumbers. So these are Persian cucumbers. I love Persian cucumbers. They're a little long, so I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm just going to do some slices. And again, this is going to be for the spring rolls. I'm doing kind of like thinner slices. I'm being aware of the fact that like, as much as I try to fit a ton of stuff in a spring roll, you can really only do so much. Oopsies. I cut this one different, but that doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go this way. There we go. All right. It's kind of amazing to look at too when you realize like this is just one cucumber, but look at how chopped up it is. So I'm probably gonna do one more for the spring rolls, and then the rest I'll cut for snacking. Whenever I'm chopping something that's round, I always take it and make a flat surface because round things roll. So by cutting it in half and then working with it that way, you're less likely to cut yourself. You have more control over the things. There we go. So smaller pieces for my spring rolls. This is also great. Like I love wraps. I'll make a lot of wraps. And so having these veggies chopped like this, the smaller veggies chopped, makes it easy to kind of fill the wraps with all these different types of veggies. All right. And then I'm gonna just quarter my cucumbers for snacking. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be crazy. I'm trying to figure out how to like fill this. I'm gonna go this way with the cucumbers. Come on, peppers. There we go. Might not be able to fit my carrots in there. Maybe I'll save a cucumber. Save a cucumber. Who knows? Maybe we'll grate that cucumber later for something. All right, so I've got all that. And then the last thing to prep is going to be my carrots. So this is my peeler. We're gonna talk about how to peel carrots. So the thing about peelers that's amazing is you actually don't even have to lift them. So if you just go back and forth and I twist the carrot in my hand, there you go, your carrot is peeled. Peeling vegetables at Thanksgiving will never be the same. So again, this is just like a regular peeler from the grocery store. It's nothing fancy. I'm just going back and forth as I'm peeling, and then there we go. We're all set, we're clean. And one more. Oopsies. There we go. All right, I'm gonna take all these peels and put them in my compost. Go. All right, and I'm gonna chop one for snacking. So I'm just gonna cut it in half, and then just like I did with the cucumbers, we're just gonna do these quarters. There we go. Now I have carrots, cucumbers, and peppers all prepped and ready to go for any type of snacking needs I might have later this week. So we're gonna put the top on, call that done. And then what I'm gonna do for the rest of my carrots is I'm gonna shave them. So I'm just gonna use my peeler and just continue to go back and forth and just twist as I'm going. And I'm just ribboning my carrots. So this is great because one, it doesn't take very long and it gives us these nice thin carrots. And we can use this, again, you can put it in a salad, you could do a stir fry, you could put it in your rolls, you could do rice bowls, you could do anything with it. You can make sushi. These are good for sushi. Sushi is another great one for like lunch prep, is making some sushi. All right, not fish though, veggie. Fish you got to be more careful with. All right, they're gonna go in here, and then we're gonna do our other carrot. It's also nice too, because when you have everything chopped and in its like containers ready to go, it makes it really easy to be like, what are these things that I have? Like, how can I like make food, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, I also have to spend 20 minutes chopping. my chopping's already done. All I have to do is put it together. So it's kind of creating space for you to succeed, I think is key when you're food prepping. Not being afraid of it, being willing to try new things, but also be kind to yourself and create space for you to like be successful at it. And this is me talking to myself too, as I've been so busy that I've been struggling with my own food prep. All right, in my carrots go. And just like that, all my veggies are ready. So I'm gonna put that right there. We've got all of our yummy veggies. The one thing that's not done is I'm gonna get my avocado. So I need a little spoon. All right, so for my avocado, I'm gonna put it down. So you're gonna do as I see, not as I do, or do as I say, not as I do. So I'm just in the skin, leaving it in the skin, slicing slices. So it's in the skin. I'm not going through the skin. I'm just slicing some nice thin slices of avocado. There we go. And then I've got my spoon. I take my spoon, go in, drag it around, lift. And now I have all these great slices of avocado ready for me. So that's going to go right there. All right. All our veggies are prepped. The only thing left to do is to make a dipping sauce. So this is a spicy nut butter, like a sweet, spicy nut butter sauce. I use peanut butter. You could use almond butter. You could use sunflower seed butter. Really depends on if you have any allergies or kind of what you like. So in here, I've got like avocado hand on my hand. I'm just gonna wipe it on my apron because that's why we wear aprons. Okay, so I'm gonna start with some peanut butter. So I'm just gonna stir it up. All right. I like the Teddy's natural. I like all natural peanut butter. Again, I'm gonna add a little honey to this and sweetener, but I'm adding it kind of on my terms. So I always buy peanut butter where it's essentially the ingredients are peanuts and salt. Okay, so we have our peanut butter. We're gonna add a little soy sauce. We're gonna add a little heat. So this is gochujang, which is Korean chili paste. You could add some ball or sriracha. I just really like gochujang because I think it's a balanced flavor. It's like my favorite Asian hot sauce besides chili oil. We're gonna add a little honey. Always like my honey spoon. You can't waste honey. The bees work so hard to make it for us. And then I've got some lime juice. I'm just gonna roll my lime. And then when I'm juicing citrus, what I do is I cut a shallow X in it. So you guys can see here, not very deep, but I'm cutting a shallow X. And what that does is it creates space for when I'm juicing it, instead of the peel rolling in, it flowers out. So you get more from it. Oh, I just moved what drawer my juicer was in and I remembered as I was going. All right, so I'm gonna juice my lime. It's a pretty juicy lime, so I'm gonna stir it from here and see what else we need. Okay. Stir it to bring it together. I feel like I should have made more sauce. This isn't a lot. It smells good. Taste it. Well, it definitely needs more lime juice. I think it needs more soy sauce. I think it needs more heat. I gave you guys like an actual recipe with measurements. I'm guilty of not always looking at recipes, even my own, and just kind of eyeballing things. So I'm going to continue to do that. I want a little bit more heat. It's kind of the joy of like cooking for yourself though, right? It's the idea where there is a freedom to kind of, once you have the basics down, like give it a little flair, add what you like. All right. There we go. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. So that's set. That's ready. I remove these things. And we're gonna make some rolls. So I'm just gonna get a bowl of hot water. Just taking a minute to warm up, sorry. All right. So we're now going to make our rolls. So a few things about making the spring rolls. We're going to have a bowl of water with us. I like to have my cutting board, like a wooden cutting board to work on. It's just a little bit easier. And the other thing is you want to figure out how you're going to store them. So if you're going to eat them right away, that's great. They do tend to dry out or they'll get sticky. So what I'll do is I'll just use some like cling wrap or sometimes even like a paper towel if it's damp and it's not going to be too long. But I'll use like some cling wrap or something to put in there. So we're going to eat ours relatively fast. I'm not even going to worry about it. So again, my ingredients that I have prepped, and this is something that you could change up easily. I've got my crispy tofu that I did. This was really easy. So for tofu, I like cooking it just plain. You can cook it. What I did is you press it. So tofu is like really wet if you've never worked with it. You want to press it between some towels and kind of get some of that moisture out of it. And then I coat it in cornstarch. And then I cook it. You can cook it in the air fryer, you can bake it, you can cook it just in oil on the stove. That's what I did because I wanted that nice crispiness in there. But I leave it plain and now it's good for the week. So this is something where I can have this dipping sauce and make a roll. I've talked a lot about like Buddha bowls and things like that. Like this is also a really great setup for making rice bowls, things like that. So kind of having this stuff again ready but not seasoned makes it easy to be like super diverse with it and kind of figure out what it is that you want. So we're gonna make a few rolls. So this is rice paper. It is made of rice starch, just like the vermicelli noodles. These are rice noodles. I use brown vermicelli, which is like brown rice noodles, just because I like brown rice. You could use whatever you want. And this is awesome. It's a gluten-free snack, which is really lovely, or lunch or dinner or whatever. So I'm just gonna open this up. And it's funny, these are like not very pliable at all. If you've never worked with them before, you're kind of like, how is this going to turn into a roll? But pretty easily, surprisingly. So I'm going to leave that one there just in case we need it. Sometimes it'll like stick and it'll rip, and so I'll use a second one. This is just going to go right in my water. Maybe I should have a bigger bowl, but I'll figure it out. And you can see already right away, it's starting to look more clear. So I'm just gonna push that in. And we're just looking for it to be like really kind of flexible. So I'm gonna take some water. I call it painting with the kids. We're just gonna paint our cutting board. And you guys can already see it's like, right? I can bend it, I can move it around. So, oh, there's a hole in there, which is fine. Not going to worry about it. So I see this hole that I have and I'm putting it closest to me because that's going to be where we wrap it. And now we build. So I'm going to move this water out of the way for you guys. All right. So when I'm building these, I love fresh herbs in it. So I've got some basil here. Got to give it a quick rinse though, because I haven't washed it yet. Don't wash it till I use it. So I'm going to give, oh, it smells so nice. My basil. So I start with my herbs, and you kind of want to think about the fact that when you're making these rolls, this is see-through, so you can see it. So you're going to see all these beautiful colors. So I'm going to add some of that. And then I love some cilantro. Mint is also really good in this. All right. And then I'm going to do my tofu. And so I really like this dipping sauce. I think it's delicious. I'm just going to go ahead and put a really good little glob on my tofu. And then this is kind of like where I'm building from. So the idea of this is we're kind of doing like a burrito. So I'm not going to spread everything out. I'm going to try to keep it all contained to this one area. So I'm going to have some pepper here. We're going to do a little cabbage. Love that purple. we're gonna do cucumbers. Maybe I'm doing more cucumbers, but I really like cucumbers. All right, I'm gonna do that. Got some carrot action in here. I like the vermicelli noodles, so I'm gonna put those here. And then I even want to do a little bit of lettuce because I like that idea. All right, so I have all my stuff in here, and now it's time to roll it. So starting thumbs by bellies underneath, you're gonna go up and just roll. And I'm just trying to like bring everything in, flip up my sides, just like a nice burrito, and keep rolling. Just like that. Ta-da! And I have a little hole. Not too worried about it. We're going to eat it pretty quickly, so that's not a big deal. I'm going to take this. I don't even have a plate out. Put this on my plate. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. So let's do another one. All right, where's my water? Here it is. And so I normally won't make too many of these at a time. I'll make them closer to when I'm eating them. But you could also, if you know that like over the next 3 days you're going to be eating this, you can make these and prep them and just store them. And then they're kind of ready for you when you're ready to eat. This is something that I'm probably going to end up making a couple more of these and just take it for lunch tomorrow because it's easy and I'm already doing it. All right, there we go. See? And then make sure I paint the station. So the reason it's important to put the water down is because this gets really sticky. So if you don't put water down, what happens is it actually sticks to whatever surface you're working on. So we don't want that. All right, and then again, I'm gonna do some basil. I'm gonna do the cilantro. My tofu. And again, I'm gonna put a little sauce here. You don't have to do the sauce in it if you don't want. Sometimes what I'll even do is I'll thin the sauce out with a little extra soy sauce and I'll take the tofu and I'll like saute it in the sauce. It's delicious. All right, so we've got that. And then we have our peppers. Oh, you know what I forgot? I totally forgot to put avocado in the other one. It's a good thing we're making more. I've got my pepper, cucumber, carrots, little vermicelli noodle, some lettuce, and can't forget the avocado this time. All right, you've got some avocado. So again, thumbs, belly, up and over. And I'm just like really kind of holding everything in as I'm rolling because I want it to be nice and tight. Uh-oh, look what I did. I overfilled it and it busted open, but guess what? It is an easy fix. So let's fix it. Fret not. Sometimes I have people who literally just like, I'm just gonna throw it in a bowl and eat it. It's fine. But if you want to have the wrap, you're just gonna take another sheet. You're gonna prep it. And it goes. It's like so soothing too, because you just have to put your hands in the nice water and wait for it to be ready. Always do warm water. If you do cold water, it's going to just take forever. All right. And there we go. All right, so I'm just going to take it and lay this one out. My poor little guy is falling out. And I'm going to put it here. And then I'm just going to wrap it a second time. No problem. Ta-da. And now we have this just like really, really beautiful fresh roll. All right. And then what I do is once I'm kind of done with all of this stuff, I just take everything, it all gets the tops put on it. And then I'll write right up here, what do I have? What is it? When does it have to be used by? Good to go. We have our hard-boiled eggs, pour some water in there. There we go. They're good to go. So that's ready. So it's gonna be really easy for us. We can just peel it. I know some people peel the eggs ahead of time. There's mixed reviews out there as to if you should or shouldn't. I'm gonna let you guys kind of decide how you like to do that. But For us, I'm going to leave these peeled for now. They'll go in a container with a date. Again, you have about a week, or not about a week. They're good for 1 week. So if you cook them on Sunday, after Saturday, they're kind of, that's it. They're all done. And I'll put them in a little container. I always I used to take my hard-boiled eggs and store them. I would take an egg carton and write hard boiled on it, and no one would see that there were hard boiled eggs in there. And so now I just put them in a little separate thing. I normally put some tape here with whatever the date is, and then it's good to go. And with that, we have prepped some food. So we've prepped lunch. We've got some dinner stuff good to go for later this week. We've got sandwiches, we've got dessert, we have chia seed pudding. So as you guys can see, just taking a little bit of time to set yourself up ahead of time for success makes it easier to enjoy delicious food all the time at home.
Does anyone have any questions for Chef Kelsey before we end for the night?
Oh, nice. I mean, I talk a lot, so hopefully you got some good tips and tricks.
Well, we wanted to thank you again for coming tonight. It was excellent and everything is amazing and you did a fantastic job. Thank you again for coming. We
Thank you.
appreciate it so much.
My pleasure being here.
Yeah.
So yeah, make some food, enjoy meal prepping. It's not too scary, I promise.
We have some comments in the chat. Thank you. Great tips. Nice job. Can't wait to try the chia pudding. Yay. I'm glad I turned in. Thank you, Kelsey. Enjoyed the info.
Thank you guys.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. I hope everybody has a splendid evening.
You as well, Kelsey. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.